Hey guys, and welcome to my, I guess you can call it Affliction Warlock Mythic Plus guide. I'm back from vacation, so I will pick up this game now and actually play the season. So you can expect more keys from me in the next weeks or so. I'm not sure if I can actually put out a video this week because I have to clean up a lot of shit from vacation, and also tomorrow is Monday and I have to work, and so yeah, I'm not sure if I actually will time something this week, although the affixes seem very promising. I also will re-upload the 2 videos that have the sound issue. I'm pretty sure I know what went wrong and how to fix it. I haven't tested it yet, so maybe I'm wrong and it doesn't work. We will see that. But sooner or later you will see them re-uploaded. I won't take the other ones down, so you don't have to worry about that. I will just put the 2 new up and you can play them, watch them if you want. Yes, also I am not a professional player, I'm just an average dude that plays its Affliction Warlock and is pretty happy on that. I started retail with Battle for Azeroth and as a prot pally and switched to Affliction Warlock with the start of Shadowlands as my main. I played Warlock on a private classic server a few years ago and had a lot of fun there, so yes, I got back to that with Shadowlands. Also, don't forget, I'm from Germany. I don't use my English on a daily basis, so except for listening to YouTube content, so please be thoughtful on that. Don't be too harsh on me because I forget like what ability is called, or I forget a certain word in English. Just keep that in mind. Maybe I fuck up a bit, but yes, it's just that it's not the user language I use. For the structure of the guide, I will go about each section, being gear, talents, covenants, soulbinds, conduits, rotation, and pet usage. I will make for each section a quick summary and then a deep dive on my thoughts and maybe some special things you maybe want to know, but for the person that just wants like the talents, the stats, the legendaries, whatsoever, they can just watch the few minutes of quick overview before I start my deep dive, and then skip to the next segment and watch this quick overview. So now for the actual start of this guide, we will start with gear. Main stat is intellect, and you always want to prioritize intellect, except for trinkets, because on trinkets the effect might be stronger than the stats. So if you have like an item level, a trinket that is low item level, like my meat hook for example, is only 291 item level. I'm not sure if I have enough tokens to upgrade it at the moment. So like for the example, this item is pretty low, but the haste effect is too valuable to not play this, and this accounts for the loss of the intelligence. But you always want to prioritize intellect, then haste mastery. Those are your go-to stats. For legendaries, I recommend Wrath of Consumption and Unity. I played some key wisdom on synergy, but I will go on that later. The tier set is pretty mediocre. It says that your Malefic Rapture, so your spender, if you play the Rapture build, is that does 25% more damage, and each usage of this side ability increases the duration of all active agonies, corruptions, and unstable afflictions by 2 seconds. And the fourth set is while agony, corruption, and unstable affliction are active, Drain Soul and Shadow Bolt have a chance to make the next cast of next cast of Malefic Rapture instant and doesn't incur the soul shard cost. The 2 set is definitely stronger than the 4 set, and I will go about that in a minute when we go to the talents, because there are some synergies and some shenanigans you can do with that, but this will be in the deep dive of the talents. Yes, for enchantments, Celestial Guidance on the weapon, I personally use the 20 stamina and 30 lifesteal, because lifesteal, in my opinion, is pretty nice and pretty undervalued. For the braces, you wanna grab the 15 haste. For the chest, you wanna grab the 15 intellect. Sorry, for the braces, and for the chest, you wanna grab the 30 intellect. Ring enchantments, I personally stuck with mastery. I sim those if I get new items, so maybe mastery, maybe haste. You have to talk about that. You have to look about that if you sim your character, what is better for you. Same goes for actual sockets, or in this case, actual gems. So now to the more deeper of the gear. Why don't I play, or why did I play with Demonic Synergy in the beginning of the season? Simply, and I have tried to explain this a few times, but I want to say this so that like the people that didn't read the comments also get my thought process. I think, and to take that in the beginning, I think Demonic Synergy might be better than Wrath of Consumption on some dungeons on Tyrannic weeks. We have a pretty big problem with our single target damage in the season, or like we always had a big problem with single target last season and the season before, because like we have to sacrifice many abilities for AoE, and they gutted Malefic Rapture to the ground after season 1, so like, and also the Conduit that I guess it was called Focused Malignancy that was affected by is also gutted into the ground. They have moved some talents, Affliction single target in raids, and in M+ is garbage. So Demonic Synergy is better on single target if you can't keep up the stats, the stacks of Wrath of Consumption. There are many bosses and dungeons where you actually can keep up, like for example in Gambit, first boss you have the ads spawning, second boss you have the ads spawning that were killed by the tank front, but you can put corruption on those ads and agony on those ads to get like full stacks back. You have bosses in Junkyard, and basically in many dungeons you have like an ad that spawns in a boss fight that you can kill to get those things. The stacks back from Wrath of Consumption. In Mechagon, for example, you don't have that, so maybe on a tyrannical Mechagon key you actually want to play Demonic Synergy, but I haven't done the math on that or theory crafting on that, so yeah, that's just what my experience is on this talent. This legendary, yes. It's not bad on AoE either, but it's worse than full stack Wrath of Consumption, and it's also, in my opinion, worse than a full stack Wrath of Consumption single target would be, but you cannot always have this full stack of Wrath of Consumption. Yes. For trinkets, I personally go for the meat hook. I like haste. It helps our setup because we are pretty slow in our setup. It takes a long time compared to like a hunter that throws in like the Kyrian ability and presses its 2 cooldowns and pew 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 bam, big numbers. We don't have that. So haste is always good. And second trinket, something passive. I got lucky and got the Soulish one on max edge level from the weekly chest, so I played with that one. But you can basically pick any passive trinket there either. So yes. Also, to mention the rings, you wanna get the 2 Mechagon rings, or 2 of the many Mechagon rings. Their effect is just insane. Like, I got insanely lucky the last time I opened the weekly and got this ring. Or was it the time before? Basically, at the moment it's useless because I don't have the counterpart, but once you have the counterpart and you want the counterpart that gives you haste, this ring is a significant DPS increase, because on single target you always press 3 different abilities on the mob and you trigger this effect pretty often. So you have like this haste effect basically all the time, which is just so good. Yeah, but you want 2 rings. I have the one with 3 different abilities. It's good for a Warlock because you have many different abilities that you use all the time. And the counterpart should then be the haste proc. I think that's it about the gear. So let's move on to the talents. For the talents, you pick Drain Soul, Absolute Corruption. This is your choice, but normally I would say definitely pick Dark Prick, Wild Taint, Mortal Coil, although you can also play this one, Haunt, and Dark Soul Misery. This is your normal Rapture build. There is another build that people play. This is the Sow the Seeds build. It's stronger on AoE, but 1000 times worse on single target. Then you switch Absolute Corruption to Red in Agony, and you go with Sow the Seeds instead of Wild Taint. This would be your go-to Sow the Seeds build. Yes, but for now we talk about the Rapture build and about the talents themselves. So if you just want to copy those talents, this is what you should go for. So, first row. We have Nightfall and Demise and Drain Soul. You always pick Drain Soul because of the shard sniping. It's like it's night and day. You can end a pack in plus with 5 shards without having to actually wait and store the shards for the next pull, and you can't actually press your Rapture because you want shards for the next pull. You don't need to worry about that. Once you have this spell, you're basically good on shards, and that's like the big quality of life thing, and why you always play with this spell and not with the other 2s. Inevitable Demise is not bad either, but it's just not strong enough in my opinion. Keep in mind you can get AoE drain life with that if you use your Soul Rod. For example, like if I talent this ability, I use my Soul Rod, and then all targets affected by Soul Rod will be able to drain by this ability as long as this dot stays active. Once it falls off, it will only be 1 target again. So yeah, there's that. There are a few issues with that. If you have pretty high haste, you will get this pretty frequently, and drain life consumes a lot of mana. And with the current haste we can get with the bounty and the plus and stuff, we get to a problem where like our spells actually start to consume our mana bar and it goes down, and this is a problem. So yeah, I'm not sure. I never really played this in M+. I think it's clunky that, to not have this spell. I think this spell should be baseline and something else should be put in this place, but yeah. Last thing, this is the one I was pretty excited about in the first place, but I just couldn't stand not having the quality of life of Drain Soul. This has a pretty insane synergy with the tier set and Absolute Corruption, and I will talk about that in a second. But basically, you get a lot more Rapture procs from your tier set if you play with that talent. First of all, Corruption, Shadow Vault has a higher percentage to actually proc your tier set. I guess it was 10% higher. Where is it? Yes, so it's 30% for Shadow Bolt and 20% for Drain Soul. So there's that. And also in the next row, you play with Absolute Corruption. There is a synergy between the tier set because, like as I said in the gear section, your Rapture, thanks to the tier set, increases the duration of Corruption, Agony, and Unstable Affliction. But with Absolute Corruption, you have no duration that you can extend. So Blizzard made another made Corruption take one more time if you play with Absolute Corruption. This will be listed separately in the damage meter, so you can take a look at it after an overall, like from a dungeon. I will also show my damage breakdown once we go through the rotation part. This is more front up damage. This is more laid back damage because Agony needing to ramp up. Yes, you start with 4 stacks, so you can stack higher, but this is Corruption has its full damage potential in the beginning, and 15% more damage from Corruption in the beginning with the amount of setup you have is better. Also you get the damage proc, and if you add those two together, it's just better than Red and Agony. Also keep in mind you would need to refresh your AC with your seed every now and then, your Corruption every now and then. This is another spell that could go like into a Rapture and would deal way more damage if you play this build, if you play Rapture instead. So yeah, there is no reason for Red and Agony. This talent is completely dead, and plus you don't use it. Just keep in mind the dot literally itself is like completely minimalistic. The only reason why you could pick it is if you want like completely pure single target for whatever reason. Then you would pick this because it's another dot, more damage from Rapture, but it's basically the whole reason of existence behind this. Next row, you can use that, but we have Soul Shape. We can move freely when we refresh our dots. This is just too strong. I also got asked why I don't pick Phantom Singularity above Wild Taint. And this is a pretty big part if you play the Rapture build. On a pure single target, you definitely would love to have Phantom Singularity. It is more damage than Wild Taint, but it lacks significantly on AoE, and there is a problem with that, because Rapture does damage to each individual target by the amount of individual dots on each individual target. So like if one target has 5 dots and one target has only 2 dots, they will get a different amount of damage from your Rapture. Phantom Singularity being only a 1 dot on a target that pulses doesn't make the other targets get a second dot that would buff rich damage, so you definitely go with Wild Taint. It has a nice slow. This is good for M+. For tank kiting, you can use it 3 times in your 1 minute burst windows. It's just, yes, it costs a soul shot. This is something you should keep in mind. It's a loss on single target, but in my opinion, like, I don't see a reason why you would play this. You would sacrifice pretty much a good chunk of your AoE if you play with that. So, next row. Mortal Coil, just too good. You can use it defensively in so many different ways. Like, tank has lost threat on one mob that's now attacking you. Bam, Mortal Coil. And the mob is running away for 3 seconds. And this will not get broken by damage. Not by your damage, not by damage of other party members. So, this is all the time 3-second fear. Pretty good. You always use that, for example, on the Plague Borer, after the Plague Borers in Plaguefall, the Dr. Icarus boss fight, when the slime spawned that had the damage reduction hour, I used that spell to fear the mob away and then banish it. So, like, I single-handedly got the first ad, and nobody had to keep that in mind. It's incredibly good for pugs. You can essentially use this as an interrupt if needed, although keep in mind it has a travel time. Some targets cannot be feared, so you only get the healing. But this is try around with it. I think this is better than any of the other options. You never want to use that. And I guess this could be nice. 15 seconds less on your AoE stun is not bad, but this is just so good. Next row. Shadow Embrace is good. Haunt is good. Shadow Embrace is one less global you have to less globals you have to spend, and one less cast you have to spend, but it's 1% less actual damage increase. I have seen sims that this is, I guess, 1% overall better than Haunt, but on AoE you will put up Haunt, but you won't initially stack this to 3, so I'm not entirely sure if this is better on AoE. I personally stick with Haunt. You can play that. I don't think they take much in comparison, so play whatever you want. Never ever play this one. It's completely trash. Not only is the damage proc like incredibly small, it doesn't even scale on AoE. Also, you lose out on the second abilities from your pets, like for example the Devour Magic ability from your Fell Hunter. You can't use that. You will have the Kick as the ability that you will gain with that, so it's just straight up completely garbage. You never play that. It's literally a troll ability. Last row, this is not bad, this is bad, and this is completely busted. So you always use that. You don't have that much of a benefit from red at the moment because it's completely overshadowed by the strength of the 30% haste on a 2-minute cooldown. This one has big anti-synergy with what you're actually playing, because Rapture wants you to have dots active as long as possible, while this makes your dots decay 15% faster, which is counterintuitive to your playstyle. So it's sad because it would be more dot damage, it would work with Breath of Consumption, it would be cool, but it's just not there. So these are your talents. Now on to the Covenants. You will play Night Fae, and there is no discussion. I have seen people play with Venti, I tried it myself. It feels horrible. Like, you lose out on the Unity Legendary from Night Fae. The incredible amount of haste and crit you gain from the Legendary is just too good. You don't want to lose that. And I don't understand why people would actually use this. So always play Night Fae. This is your go-to. For the Soulbinds and Conduits, you go with Dreamweaver. Then I took this path. This is personal preference. I think this is better. Less fall damage. Yay. Always good. Take it. For the Conduits, Focus Malignancy. Withering Bolt, Soul Eater. Bam. Those are the go-to conduits for raid. Those are the go-to conduits for M+. You don't change them. Why don't I play with Rolling Agony? Basically, the tier set makes this conduit obsolete. With the amount of haste we have and the amount of shards we get, you basically have a lot of raptures and you can easily maintain agony due to the 2-second extension from the raptures. Thanks for the tier set. So you don't need to play this. You can, but you don't necessarily want to, because you want to get as much of single target as you can. So bam, bam, both are single target increases, both is good. This one is just universally good. It's more damage for your soul rod. You have it every minute. It does good damage, so why don't? This one is a bit weird. I have people seen that played or that tested with Wilfred's legendary, the cooldown reduction on Dark Lair, and with that conduit, and I think I have seen people get Dark Lair down to 1 minute. But as long as you not consistently can get it down to 1 minute, I don't see a reason why you would do this to yourself. Also, this will definitely be more cooldown reduction on AoE and less on single targets, so you would have a weird desync, and then if you have bad RNG, you will still have to wait 2 minutes for a Dark Lair, etc, etc. I don't think it's worth. For the finesse conduits, you always want to pay this one. It's like such a quality of life thing. I never play the other twos. I think the defensive choice here is better than the other finesse choice here. Defensive wise, I played this one, just a passive nice heal, and this one reduces the cooldown on my unending resolve. It's a 3-minute cooldown, so reduction on that is pretty good. So yeah, you want to play with that. So that is Conduits and Soulbind. Dreamweaver is OP because of its actual cheat death. I think it's phenomenal, and I am crying at the moment if I think like I would lose this ability in Dragonflight. I just so much love this fail-safe mechanism that is given me, because like I certainly do fuck up certain times, and this is just so good. Also, this ability, 15% haste for 12 seconds. Yeah, you can't move really, but it's just too OP. And I will go back on that later. You have a lot of reason to go on haste. With that being said, the last part, or the I can't speak that word. The next part, the penultimate part, is rotation. So, your basic opener in an AoE pull in Mythic Plus is Seed of Corruption on one target, then Agony on all the other targets, then on your Seed of Corruption target you put up your Unstable Affliction, holy shit, your Unstable Affliction and your Haunt. Then press Wild Taint, press your haste CDs, then press your Soul Rod, and then your Dark Lair. If you don't have the Mythic and have every other trinket, press it before Soul Rod. You have a nice synergy there that I will explain later, but basically I will make a slow opener so you can see what I'm doing. I will explain it, and then I will do a fast one. I won't actually use my cooldowns because I have to wait like a fuck ton of time, and I don't want to cut too much because I just want to get this guide out. So you open with Seed of Corruption, you spread your agonies, on every target. Then, on the target with your Seal of Corruption, you put up your Unstable Affliction and your Haunt. Now you're Wild Taint. Now you would use a Trinket, this and that, and then you would use Dark Lair. So, in about 10 seconds, let me fast reset the Corruption. Also, if you're testing your damage and you want to reset your absolute corruption, just go up here, fly in here, fly back out, and they are removed. So you don't actually have to do any shenanigans like switch to another talent and then reapply corruption and shit. It also works, but it takes more time. So yeah, fast opener would be something like this. Seed. Tap target your agonies. Apply your other spells, and then just Rapture. Spam Rapture until you have no shards, then you drain Soul to fish for procs with your tier set, refresh your Haunt if it tends to fall off. Now while Taint has come back from cooldown, use that, and always make sure you have one shard for your next Wild Taint, because you want to get all the free. You don't want to wait with this cast because you want to align it always with that one. So now I have it back, I will place it, and now they have a pretty similar cooldown. I will now start to pool shards. I will refresh my agonies because now I enter the second burst phase. I have Sorrow back up again. I will place down my Wild Taint. I will place my Soul Rod and then spam down my Raptures. Then refresh Haunt and now drain again. And this is your whole rotation. Pool shards for Soul Rod, burn them after Soul Rod. If you start to overcap, just use them. You don't want to overcap. Always use your Wild Taint when it's off cooldown. See, like I slightly fucked up there. There is now a bit desync. I could have done this better. But keep in mind, I'm also just a regular person. And it's hard for me to explain and actually game the same. So yeah. Now we have a desync of like what? 6 seconds. It's okay, it's not good, but I think you get my thought process. So yeah, that is basically the rotation of the Affliction Warlock. If you take a look at the damage breakdown, it's mostly your Spender, Corruption, Agony, Wild Taint, Soul Rod, and Unstable Affliction. Your single target filler spell, and this is the interesting part. This is the Absolute Corruption dot proc that comes from the tier set. This is almost 4% of our AoE damage on 4 targets. So this is like something you also have to consider if you play with Red in Agony. You will lose this. You then will just gain the extension to Corruption. So this is why this is better. Yes. So also, I forgot to mention this about that talent. This talent is pretty strong, and I can show you why. Because this talent procs Shadow Bolts off of Corruption damage. So if a Corruption does damage, you have a chance that your next Shadow Bolt will then do 50% more damage and be instant. Also, Shadow Bolt has a higher chance to proc your tier set than this ability has. So, if you actually play with that talent and play with that talent, and keep in mind, each time, wait, let me switch that. Each time you this one. Each time you cast your Rapture, you will also flare every Corruption. those corruption, extra corruption ticks also count for this talent. And you will get a shit ton amount of procs of this, and this can stack up to 2 times while playing this build. But keep in mind, you still lose the shard sniping, and this is still better, although this would be better on this on a AoE scenario where you don't actually need to wait, or where mobs would not die. But it just feels clunky. It maybe is better overall. I have no clue. I still think the shard sniping is more valuable, more damage than this talent, but keep that in mind. Yes, I think this is it for the AoE rotation. On single target, it's pretty much the same. You start with Haunt, then Unstable Affliction, put up your dots, Wild Taint, now get your haste, Soul Rod, bam, and then it's like the same thing on AoE as on single target. Keep your dots up, your haunt up, drain soul as much as possible to get your tier set procs, use them, use a Wild Taint as soon as it's off cooldown. Yeah, that's it. Like, basically that's the whole single target. Yes, so this is your whole rotation. And now I will show you the other way to actually stop your absolute corruption from ticking. Just pick another talent, apply corruption again, and wait for this to fall off. It's annoying that I can't clear effects from target dummies. But yeah, that's it. That's the rotation part. There are some deep dives and thoughts about when you press your cooldowns, especially your Dark Soul Misery on an AoE pull. For example, like you go there and the tank starts to gather a bunch of mobs. Then of course, yes, you can start with a seed, but if the seed explodes and doesn't hit every mob, you then need to either apply corruption to the rest of the mobs manually or cast another seed, which is another 1.9 seconds, or and also costs a soul shot. You don't want to do that. So in this case, I actually start with spreading agonies to as many targets as possible. So my rotation changes. I then start with agony, not with seed. Also, on some occasions, like on Gambit, you will see me not go Wild Taint with pull, also not go seed and Wild Taint, even though I would hit all the small ones. I would hit the non-elite Molochs and would do more damage. The reason is, I know the non-elite will die in a blink of an eye. I don't need to put damage on those. It's wasted. It's actually more valuable for me to put up on all the small ones. So all the elite mobs will get the agony from me. And if there are 4 elites in the pack, by the time I have put agony on all those 4 mobs, the small ones already will be dead. So I don't have a reason to focus my damage on them. Yes, I can pad for overall, but you don't gain anything except than that. But you will reduce the dungeon time, or the amount it takes to amount of time it takes to kill the pack. If you focus on the elite mobs, then they die faster. You don't need to worry. Oh no. They die faster, the elite mobs, so they are the one that slow down the packs. So keep that in mind. Yes, you can damage pad, but be honest, it doesn't actually bring value. Fire Mage or Hunter, Survival, Marksman, whatever, will instantly kill them anyway. So yes. And now there is a pretty interesting part about the legendary Unity. Or if you don't have Unity, the Covenant legendary. Keep in mind, Soul Rod, each target affected by Soul Rod increases your haste and crit chance by 25% per target hit for 8 seconds. So Soul Rod hits, what's it again? 3 additional targets, so it hits 4 targets. So 4 times 5, 20%. But take a look at that. If you use your Soul Rod now, you will have you will get up to 77.35% haste. This is an increase. Of course, this also counts the haste circle here. This is an increase of 48% haste. But this does scale with the haste you actually have at the given time. So if I use that spell, the 30% haste increase, the Dark Soul Misery, and my haste trinket before that, the benefit of Soul Rod and the legendary becomes increasingly higher. And this is crucial for our burst. We can wait 10 seconds, but I have the numbers written down. I have tested this before, just to show you. Now I will do the same as I did before, but I will press Dark Soul Misery, I will press my meat hook, and I now have 96.28% haste. And now if I press Soul Rod, I go up to 170% haste. Look at that. If you subtract the 69.28% that we had before Soul Rod and subtract them to the 170 haste we have with Soul Rod, you will see that we now have gained 74% haste. Before we only gained 48% haste. So, and this is the reason why haste is so important with this build. Haste makes our dodge ticks faster. So this is the reason why I play the meat hook. I have a pretty insanely high amount of haste every 2 minutes. And it scales with the more haste you have. Keep in mind, you have the dungeon bounty that also gives you haste. And you want to use that. Yeah, it's just scales incredible well. So, now on the last part. I know I haven't talked about the Seed of Corruption build, but I don't wanna talk about it at all because I am not gonna play it. There are people that play this. I think it's useless. I think it's actually counterintuitive because we only actually have decent AoE. Yes, it could be higher with Seed build, but you lose so much needed single target. Yes, so last chapter is pet usage. Your pets have different abilities. You have your kick on your Fell Hunter, which is the pet that you will use basically all the time. And you also have, what's it called? Devour Magic. And this one is actually pretty useful. There are a handful of mobs that have magic effects that can be cleansed. If you have a mage and he can spell steal them and gain like a damage amp or something like that, then don't dispel them, let the mage get them, because our pet does not get the effect, it just removes it from the target. You can, for example, in Mechagon Workshop, you have those defend bots. What are they called? Those defend bot. The third iteration, not the. You have the ones that are non. Holy shit, what the fuck is wrong with my speaking at the moment? You have they are numbered with the Latin numbers, like 1 stroke, 2 strokes, 3 strokes. The free, not sure what's it called. You know what I mean. The mob also has a shield effect that's cast on that. You can dispel that. You can also dispel in Iradox on the first boss. You have the fear ward shit on the boss. You can dispel that. So you can actually hit the boss without getting this shit fear stupid fuck ability. I hate this ability, and it has killed me so often. Yeah. You can dispel that, and there are other abilities that also can be dispelled. Try it yourself. I don't have a full list about that. The other pet you will use is the Imp. Because of this ability. It cleanses a spell of a friendly target. For example, menagerie fight in streets. The Goliath puts those 2 big bright blue circles on the targets. You can cleanse one of them. The healer cleanses the other one. You don't get the damage. On the second boss in Mechagon, what's it called again? Let me take a look. Dungeons. I can't search it. Battle for Azeroth. Mechagon. Kujo. The tank debuff. If the healer, for whatever reason, is not dispelling the dot here, the tank gets a dot that is pretty nasty and ticks for 3 minutes, so you definitely need to dispel that. You can dispel that also with your imp. You don't need to interrupt on this fight, nor do you need to interrupt on the menagerie, so you don't need the Fell Hunter. So every time a player has a magic effect on them, you can dispel them with that ability. That being said, I think that's it for this guide. If you have any further questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. I will answer them one by one. Like, for example, if there is something I have missed like entirely, I will make a video on that and explain something like that, maybe. But at the moment, I think I have covered everything that is important. People have asked me also. The add-ons. My Platter profile is straight copied from Kalamasi. He has them available on his Twitch channel for free, so go there, check him out. He's a great dude. He produces wonderful in-depth content of Warlock as well. Grab them there. I won't give you them there because I think he made the time and he should also get the clicks on his channels. So yes, my AVI profile is pretty basic. I will try to set up a paste bin so you can actually get my profile if you want it. Also, people have asked me about my weak auras, the one that screams all the time. This is the weak aura that screams then if my drain soul procs rapture. So if my T-set procs rapture, the screams, it's a basic weak aura. I think I have made it myself. No. I copied it from the internet. So just Google like what's this buff called again? Let me see if I can get a proc right now. This buff is called the crescendo buff. You know what I mean. Just get your proc, look the name, Google this name, and then you will get a weak aura that... of course you have to change the sound alert you want. I changed mine to the scream. Yes, I guess that's it. Have a nice week. I hope you enjoyed this guide. I hope it was not too bad. It's my first time, as I said. And yeah, have a good one.